In this video, I'll show you how you can use the Figaf tool to run DevOps methodologies with SAP PI PO. Integration is like plumbing, I used to say. If it works, nobody really cares. It's just there. It helps improve your business. But if it is not working, you get into trouble. And that's the mentality of integration, that it's just there. We cannot see it, touch it, feel it, but it works. And that's why you need to make sure that it really works all the time. SAP PI PO is a tool that has about 10,000 customers that are using it for integration, but one of the things that I really feel it is missing really a good tool for change management and testing. So the old way of doing a change, and this was the way you would normally do it, was you would create obviously the development, then you would perform some unit tests, and the way you would normally do that would be find some messages you could pass through, try to do some comparison and see if you could get some response coming back from it. Then you would update the documentation on the scenario if you remembered it, or you would create some new documentation you would place somewhere that some other people later could possibly see. You would then ask the user or business user to test that it worked, and if you made a fix that the new thing also worked, and you had to coordinate with this user about being able to test all these different things that was required for testing. You had to get approval from architects. You had to transport this and do QA procedure. You had to configure this in test. You had to business user to test again, and then you had to transport and monitor it and configure it in production. This is really a long process, and meant that it could take days to do small modifications. With the Figaf tool, we have tried to automate all these different steps. So obviously you'd still need to create the development, figure out what part of the message mapping, what kind of communication channel do we need to fix. Then you'd need to link this change to a business ticket, and then most of the process can be automated. You can run all the different test cases that you already have, and you can see if they're producing results, expected results. You can update these test cases based on the new criteria. You can run transports from the system. You can just say start transport with these components, and you could configure this in all environment in just the application without needing to log into these components or to the QA and production environment. You will then test how it works in QA, and you can run the same test there also. Then you'd obviously still need the business user to ask and sign off and say this is okay. Then you can run the document in production, and you can then just click create documentation both for the scenario and for the change that you have been processed. So the benefits of this is this makes it a lot cheaper to do integration, because you'd spend fewer consulting hours or fewer developer hours doing the integration. It will also be a faster time to go live, or time to market, because a lot of these steps can be automated. You don't need to wait excessively for other users to approve them, do documentation, do regression testing. It's all included in the process. You'll be able to actually govern the development and make audit trails a lot better, because you got this fine-grained visibilities in what objects are changed for what reason, and handle that in the full process. Then it will give you a higher quality, and it will simplify the delivery model that you have, because you can use the same tools both for PI, CPI, and API management. So the case is we want to make a change in a message mapping and a communication channel. And the normal approach is obviously you need to go edit this manually. We'll show you how well this works, what you can do with the tool. So let me show you. So here we have the Figaf tool. It's running on a separate system, and it's got access to my PI systems. Here I have my message mapping, and what I can then do is I can say assign to ticket, and I'll create a new ticket. This is mapping fix. We can specify if we need to have specific releases for this. We can say who is in charge of doing this. We have development and migrations, and then we'll just want to select the landscape that we have used, and normally you would just have 2 landscapes in this. And then we will say this is for our service request or ticket, Jira ticket, something like that, so we have an external reference to it, and our description is just the same. So with this, we have seen that this is the objects that we have. We can go through and see all the required components of this. We can see that there's operation mappings on this, and let's just check one of these. And we can see here we have the ICO, and we also want to add that to our ticket. So we'll assign this also to our ticket, and then we can go back to our ticket. And with that, we can then say, okay, we know that there's this ICO in. We can attach all the dependent objects if we want to make this transport, and then we'll figure out, based on this ICO, what are all the objects that we need for this to work. And then we know all the things, and we can go into the message mapping. We can drill down and see what was actually changed in this case. Then we have our test cases, and what we can do here is we can look up all the different test cases that are relevant for this case. So we got a few test cases here, and we can need to select all of them if we wanted to. And here we can see what are the test cases that we have. We can open our test suite. So here we get a little more insight about what is there. We can specify we want to run on our development system, and this will then replay these messages and expect the same result. So obviously I've made some mapping changes that could result in some of these messages giving an error. So here we can see the result. We can see that we got one with some errors in. And when we compare this, we have the option to go in, see the comparison, and we can see that this pricing thing that's different. And I know that was one of the things that we worked on in this case, so that's okay. I can either then go and say, okay, now this is our new test case and that's the one we want to use, or I can just double click the line and ignore the pricing element for further tests. So now we can go back, and we have tested everything. We can start our transport, and the transport will then create all the transport required for us to transport this ticket. So with that, we will get 2 tickets. We'll get one that is the directory and the repository. So here we can see all the message mappings and how they are going to work. We can send it to approval, and then the approval could be other users, or it could be the same user that's also able to approve it, and I'm able to approve it. Approve this ticket. So this is okay, but we can see we cannot implement yet because we also got our directory configuration. And this is a lot more interesting, and one of the things that we have here is that we have the option to specify what values are different in the landscape. So here we have the value in the development system and in QA. So here we can specify that in QA the name should be different, the target direction should be different, and that means that what the tool will do is, once we have implemented, it will go and configure this communication channel with these parameters. And you got module configuration and everything you need like that. So now we have saved it. We can then go back to our transport, and we can, if we had imported something already, we would be able to go in and it will actually show us what was actually going to be imported on the QA or productive system. So we can see these are the 3 changes that's actually there. We have an option to validate the transport, where it will check that you have not configured something that's not valid, you have entered all the required passwords and stuff like that. And we can then send it to approval, and we will just approve this again. So now we're ready to import, and we want to take the repository first, and it's using the TPZ import export functionality, but just hiding it from the user. So the import takes a little longer time, and once this has been imported, we will obviously be able to import the directory configuration also, and then it will run the configuration there also. So we can go back, we can hopefully start our import now, and then it will do this configuration, and we'll be able to see all details here. So now import has been processed successfully. We can see everything was working out so good. We now would have the option to run these test cases on our QA system if we wanted to, and see how that would behave. What I just wanted to show you now is, obviously now we're done with this transport, everything is happy and people like what we have done. We can generate a Excel document that contains all this information, so we know what are the issues we're trying to fix, what are the documentations we have, what are all the objects involved, what are the versions, and which system have they been imported on. We can see how many test cases did we have, and we can see our results that we are getting from this testing. And here we can see what are the transport objects that has been imported, what time was that imported on these systems. So now we've finished our development, and we are ready to go on to the next task. So with this, you can see the power of the automation, how much you can automate, and how much control enterprise architects would have over the process, making it easier to outsource and get developers to work on it, and still keep things private and the government process private. There are some other features that the Figaf tool is able to do. It's able to set up really simple setup rules from the alerts that you're getting. It's able to automate the migration process if you're doing a PI to PO migration, and then it supports the same development process, monitoring, alerting for PI, also for CPI and API management, making it a lot easier for you to develop integrations no matter which platform it's on. So you can try the Figaf tool. You can go to figaf.com/IRT. Try it out. There's a free trial license that you can start and use. So it's really simple to set up. You can run it on your laptop and see how it works. Thank you.